Hey, welcome to Integrated Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. It has been a little while since I've made one. I think it's been a few weeks. I've been busy doing things, relaxing a lot, but going through the final editing process of the fourth book. And I've been watching a lot of what's been going on, of course. First we had the COVID situation, and then we had that situation up in Minneapolis that has been consuming everybody's interest for the last few weeks. And I've been every day I'll get up and I'll check the news and see the latest idiocy that's going on. And I do have something to say about every day, but every day there's plenty of other people out there saying things, and I just didn't see that my 2 cents would make much of a difference. And I was interested to see what other people have to say, because as much as sometimes I want to get on and give my opinion, I'm also extremely interested in the opinion of others, because it gives me a sense of what's going to be going on. And that really is, my primary interest is to keep track of what's going on in the world, and so that I can make the plans and the moves that I want to, that I think I need to get ready for it, to be ready for it. And that goes a lot, far beyond rice and beans and I got what I need, the guns and ammo and this and that. And the world is changing, as you all know. But anyway, I've been watching. And finally, I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about some things that I've been wanting to say. By the way, if you hear water in the background, that's a fountain that's behind you, in front of me. I'm sitting in the town square of Paola, Kansas, which is the county seat of Miami County, Kansas. And if you read the books, you'll know that Stonemont is located somewhere around Miami County, Kansas. And anyway, today we were just out here taking a drive, and decided to stop here in the town square. It's a nice little place. You see up behind me is a gazebo that so many of the old town squares used to have. It really is a town square with the old buildings and the old stores. The courthouse, that's built back in I think it's back in the 1800s. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's it's one of those ornate courthouses of red stone and white windows and paint and things that you see dotted all over the Midwest and South. And so we've been out driving around, about ready to head somewhere for dinner, and stopped here for the kids to get out and play in the courtyard, the town square here. So I thought it'd be a good time for me to take a minute and talk about what's coming. Okay. There have been a lot of opinions about what to get ready for next. I have my opinion that comes from some background that might be a little bit unique when it comes to the folks making videos on this. I remember the riots in Kansas City in 1968. I was 14 and lived I didn't live in the city myself, but I spent most of that summer over with my grandparents, because I had the rollicking hots for the little girl that lived down on the corner. So I spent all my time over there as much as I could during 1968. And it was right on the dividing line between, I'll just say, different folks. It was a flashpoint for what a lot of the violence that happened. So like I said, I was 14. I remember it very well. I remember the fires. I remember Kansas City burning. I remember the National Guard patrolling the streets. I remember the police. I remember the dust-ups that we had with some other young guys our age. And I remember, well, I remember the violence, and I remember the tension. Some years later, 6, 7 years later, I was a young police officer in Kansas City. And I remember, and the tensions from that. And of course, if ever anybody remembers, 1968 was a time of great social upheaval anyway. There had been riots and demonstrations against the Vietnam War. There were groups that were developing and growing during that time. If you remember the Weathermen and Bill Ayers and all that, and then sometime later, I think it was the SLA, the Symbionese Liberation Army. There were a lot of these Marxist far left groups that were starting to become cohesive and become very active and violent, and they were coming together. And then they had all the college kids, who didn't know, what, and they didn't want to be drafted, and so they started rioting everywhere. And then Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and that lit the wick, and there were riots all across the country. And so that was just a revisiting. Like I said, some years later, I was a police officer, young police officer, 21 years old in Kansas City, and I saw and I worked the city areas, and it was still in the aftermath of extreme tension following those riots, and that tension did not go away for a long time. And I saw the effects that it had on the neighborhoods, on the people, the racial tensions that continued. Far after the riots were over, the tension between peoples continued, in attacks and murders, and it lasted a long time. I see a lot of parallels between that time and this time, but I'll tell you what, that this time is going to be worse. The what they call white flight out of the cities just blew up after that, and the cities just declined to an extent you can't believe. Well, those of you who have lived in a city or had much business in a city probably understand that. What's going to come as a result of what we're seeing right now is going to dwarf that. The groups are more well organized. They're more they're funded better. Okay, we all know who's behind it, and the media is behind this. The media has always, they've always had the saying, if it bleeds, it leads, because people don't turn on the news to watch good news. They don't turn it on to watch the latest cute puppy. They turn it on to see who's killing who and who's burning who, and where all the craziness is going on. Because I think it's a couple of reasons. I think that people have a deep desire to have, to experience a vicarious experience of the craziness in the world, and of course it makes them feel good that they're not a part of it and it's not happening to them. So the news has a vested interest, as does the different governments, in making sure that these violent interchanges and explosions in our society continue, because it's good for ratings. And they are going to always take the side that they think is going to throw gasoline on the fire. Add with that a devolution of our society to where half of the people in our country feel exactly opposite of the other half. We have the half that believes in law and order and believes in justice, and then we have the half that wants to use those terms to perpetuate their positions, acting as if that there is no justice, and promoting that to an uneducated segment of our society, to make them think that rioting and a violent pursuit of what they have termed social justice is the way to some kind of utopian future. I've been shocked to see police departments laying down, being called off. It's not the officers, for the most part, that want to do that. There's probably some, there's officers that were taking a knee to try to placate different groups. I'm not going to get into what started this, because there's a lot more to that than most people know, and they won't believe it if I say it. So to heck with that. I'm not here to try to convince anyone. So we have a much better funded segment of our society that wants to bring down our country, and we have a media with a vested interest to do that, and we have half of the people in our government who want to help them do it. That was not the situation in 1968, and we were able to rebuild from 1968. We had a couple of morons. Well, that's why Nixon, if you recall, he was voted in to bring law and order back to the country. Well, you all know what happened with that, and then we had Ford, and then we had Carter, and finally they had brought America down to a place that the majority of people realized that we needed Ronald Reagan to try to bring America back. Well, that's not going to happen this time, because America is divided. And I said a long time ago that our country, because it never was a nation. If you want my explanation of that, I've got a video some ways ago, probably last year, to where I explained that the United States was never a nation. It was a country, and and that countries without being nations are easily split apart, and that's the situation here. We are going to fragment. So my purpose on this is simply to say that I believe that our country will be fragmenting. I don't think there's any coming back from it. I think that after these riots are over, you're going to continue to see these things being used as excuses to further separate us, and that we need to be looking at a post-United States. That is, in my opinion, the most important preparedness stance you can take right now. Okay? If you don't have your guns, it's too late. If you don't have your supplies, it's too late. If you don't have a plan in place to maintain safety and security for your family, I don't know if it's too late for you or not, but who knows? That's up to you. If you can get guns and ammo, you better do it. If you haven't stocked up everything that you need as far as food and medical supplies and medicines and whatever, you better do it. If you have not developed alternative means of income, you'd better do it. The America even of right now is not the America that you're going to see a year from now. And nobody can tell you what that's going to look like. I can't. But I will tell you that it's not going to be what it is today, and it's going to be far more fragmented. And it's going to be interesting. A lot of people are going to fall through the cracks and have hard times. We're about to see those people who have lost their jobs. They're starting to they've missed enough mortgage payments and rent payments and car payments, and the jobs probably aren't coming back quickly enough to help them, and that's sad, and I feel sorry about that. But we're going to see the economic cratering that I talked about quite a while back, when I talked about both the COVID and then the attendant economic collapse that was coming with it. Individuals have seen it, but we haven't seen it as a country quite yet, because of easy credit and because of forgiveness programs from the mortgage companies and credit card companies, things like that. But we're about to see that set in. And when we see what's going on in our country right now, and add a scoop of the coming economic collapse, you're going to see things that a lot of people have not seen, because they weren't born the last time that a smaller thing like this happened, and this is going to get bigger. So start looking ahead. Start planning your life if you haven't already. And to the extent that you're prepared, I realize that I think you should prepare for a fragmentation of the country. Now, out here in semi-rural Kansas, it's not going to be near as bad as what you'll experience in the cities. Even if you don't live in the city, it's going to be dangerous to drive through the cities, into the cities. If you have to work there, if you still have a job, if you have to work there, you better pay attention. You better be ready to defend yourself, because the violence is going to be increasing. With government entities wanting to disband their police, the insanity of that is beyond description. They want a world without police. Good luck. They're going to see what happens. And out there in that little section that the anarchists have put together out in Seattle, what do they call it? Chaz, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, right? And now they're begging for food and stuff like that. Hey, welcome. Wear your Che t-shirts and wave your Cuban flag and just wait for the world to give you the perfect little utopia you've always wanted to live in, and pretty soon you'll understand the truth of Margaret Thatcher's words when she said the only problem with socialism is pretty soon you run out of other people's money. So all you kids out there thinking you're bringing something new to the world, boy, you are in for an awakening. But for those of us out here who have to deal with this junk, start thinking about what kind of life and what kind of world do you want your next step to be, because there's a next step coming, and it's not going to be the last step. I'm going to make one here pretty soon. I think I'm done. I'm 3 pages from finishing the editing on the book, so I'll have a little more time, and I got a little list of things that I wanted to make videos on, and one is the differences in what's going to happen in the cities and the suburbs and in the country. And I'm going to explain why I think that most people's ideas of what's going to happen in the cities is wrong. Not entirely wrong. It doesn't start off wrong. But I think that what will happen in the cities is different than what people have always thought. And the same in the suburbs. So wherever you want to live, whether it's rural, suburban, cities, whatever, there are simply going to be different ways for you to survive and to live. But whatever it is, you better be ready for it. And we're going to talk about that in future ones. But I'm going to call it a day here because I'm getting hungry. And I've been wanting to shoot this here for a little while. And it is just so peaceful sitting in this small Kansas town square. listening to that fountain and listen to the kids play. But we're going to go eat, and you all have a good day. And remember, like we have said in the past, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. So make those preparations according to what you think you're going to need, and get serious about it if you haven't been, because you do want to live well tomorrow. There's no reason that you have to live a horrible life just because the world is burning down around you. That's always been my thought and my position. Like I said like I had Jim Wyatt say in the books, if the world collapses, I don't want to notice. And you might think that seems somewhat arrogant, but it just depends on how well you're prepared and what kind of life you want to live. And some people are going to do worse, but I tell you what, there are people who are going to do better. And you can be one of those people if you just make a good plan and see what you want to do and then do it. So I'm off. I'm taking off. We're going to go eat. You all have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.